need to go live so we can have some music.
All right.
We is live. Here we go. Running a little late tonight. Today, wherever you happen to be on the globe today. We're just going to kick the music straight up and head right into the show.
These are the days of thunder. We're gonna make time stand still. A quarter after midnight, and I'm watching the wall. Sometimes I feel so uptight, I just can't sleep at all. Every day doing the same old thing, we're losing time. The weekend comes, we gotta have some fun and rewind. These are the days of thunder. We're gonna make time stand still. We gotta feel the hunger, hanging over the edge just to taste the thrill. I feel the rope tightening, choking off our air. We need to grab some lightning. Friday's almost here. Caught in a web, we need to cut this thread we're hanging by. Where is it said you have to be half dead to survive? These are the days of thunder. We're gonna make time stand still. We gotta feel the hunger, hanging over the edge just to taste the thrill. These are the days of thunder. We're gonna make time stand still. We gotta feel the hunger, hanging over the edge just to taste the thrill. These are the days of thunder. We're gonna make time stand still. We gotta feel the hunger, hanging over the edge just to taste the thrill. These are the days of thunder.
Ready? Shall we get started?
Absolutely.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is time for WordPress plugins A to Z, not Z.
WordPress AI is here. It's episode 591, and we have plugins for Advanced Wishlist, Profiling WordPress, Magical AI, Local Avatars, Post Order, Inline Relation, and ClassicPress options, all coming up on WordPress plugins from A to Z. WordPress. It's the most popular content management and website solution on the internet. And with over 80,000 plugins to choose from, how do you separate the junk from the gems? Join us for a weekly, unrehearsed conversation about the latest and greatest in WordPress plugins. This is WordPress plugins from A to Z. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you happen to be hiding out there on the globe today. Coming to you direct from the Brewery Overlook in beautiful southern Vancouver Island. I'm John Overall, and with me is the ever lovely
Amber overall.
And we got the usual great show for you today with lots of really cool stuff in this thing. Lots of stuff. We've been playing with the AI and all kinds of other entertaining stuff to bring you. But, you know, I just think I should.
Thank you for sharing, John. Now get down from that soapbox.
You know why I laugh every time I hear that? It's because I picture one of those giant cartoon hooks just grabbing you around the waist and yanking you off the stage.
Oh, yeah. Every time I see it, I picture the old soapboxes they used to have in the town square. where somebody was telling and when people finally got tired of them, they just yank them down off the soapbox so somebody else could get up there. Because if you were up on the soapbox in Town Square, you had the floor. You were able to talk.
I think both are just as entertaining.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, welcome to episode 5. Excuse me, 591. WordPress AI is here. So far, I think the AI helper apps are kind of the coolest ones. Those are the ones that are fully connected to the internet. Although the chatbot GPT isn't. I'm kind of on the fence regarding the AI development. On one hand, I find them absolutely fascinating and very helpful and cool. On the other hand, I'm a little worried about how they will decide to logically respond to us emotional and irrational creatures when they reach sentience, if they reach sentience. I don't know. It seems like they're going to eventually.
Oh, it's going to happen. The spark is going to occur, if it hasn't already.
What do you, our listeners, think? I would love to hear from some of our listeners. Have them reach out and let us know where you stand on this whole AI thing. I think it would be really cool to read some responses from our listeners on this particular topic, since it seems a pretty hot topic right now.
It's an extremely hot topic right now, and it's not going to go away.
So remember, this is a value for value show, meaning any value you find here, offer that same value back. We accept all currencies, including time and talent currency. And chocolate too, it's always good. And don't skip the end of the show. You never know what kind of amazing, life-altering advice you might catch from the questions that I try and stump my dad with. Almost managed once.
Yeah, you'll get to it.
And a special note to all of our listeners out there. What do you think about the way our show is going, the way it's flowing? If you have an idea, we'd love for you to share it with us. If you have a question, feel free to ask it. If you have a question or an idea that will make this show better, don't hesitate to chuck it at us. If we can't catch it, we'll just duck and let it fly by.
Absolutely.
Let's start the show with this week's featured artist.
Oh, yeah. That's the one thing I forgot to bring up. Let me go find that our artwork while you babble on about whatever. Won't take me long to find the artwork. I know where to find it.
Well, the artist this week is Jay Saliba. This is an older piece of artwork that we have. It's pretty cool. I like it. Very tacky. Whenever he brings it up, you forgot to share your screen with me also, so I don't know when you actually bring it up. I'll only see it 30 seconds later.
Well, in 30 seconds, you're going to see it because it's already up.
Oh, well, there we go. Okay.
There you go. It was the closest thing. It was the closest thing we had in our artwork to AI.
Hey, man, the first thing that develops sentience is likely going to be the computers.
Yeah. Well,
that's what I think.
It's all computers, programs. It's ones and zeros. Everything is ones and zeros. Even the hardware is ones and zeros.
The PCs, I should say.
Yeah. Anyway,
what part of a computer is this?
That is not a CPU, but it's a processing chip.
Okay.
Because it's soldered to the board. It's an extra. It's from a very old motherboard. Anyone who knows motherboards know that's a very old motherboard because you can't see those transistors anymore on new motherboards. Those transistors are even smaller on new motherboards. Oh yeah. And that secondary processing chip is now contained in the primary processing chip.
Oh.
This is a very old picture of a motherboard. You'll still find boards like this in some things like your thermostats and other things. You'll still find boards like this, but not in a computer.
I think it looks cool. I really do like this piece of art, and we are still lacking new art. This is from our archives, so if anybody out there is feeling it at all inspired, hit us up at wpplugins.com/artwork, and you can submit some artwork of your own. We can never have too much artwork.
No, never too much artwork, especially when we get a dearth of it, and I got to go dig into the archives and find something that hasn't been used in a long time.
It is pretty cool in a way that we are going through the archives out, because it gives all of our artists a second chance to be in the spotlight.
Yep.
Would be cool to have some new artwork, though, just saying.
Yep, just saying, folks.
On to the news.
All right, let's go.
Please, can everybody be quiet? Please be quiet. Shut up! And now the news with Amber.
So Hendian just asked an interesting question. Can an AI be a shrink for another AI? Because when they realize that the world they were born into is thanks to us, they're going to need help.
I can just see the entertainment value of having an AI analyze another AI.
Actually, one of the things I have in the extra news is about, actually, at the end of this news, is about AI whisperers. I'll go through that once we get through the more important stuff.
All right, well, let's go to the more important stuff.
The first up is WordPress vulnerability report for February 1st, 2023. There are no new core vulnerabilities to worry about, and not that long of a list of plugins with vulnerabilities either. As always, be sure to check this link out in our show notes so you can double check and see if there are any plugins in the fixed list that you have. Plugins with vulnerabilities that I most easily recognize are Page Builder Live Composer, Login Logout Menu, Easy Social Box, Post Views Count, and Bootstrap shortcodes. There are more in the list. You can check out the link in our show notes at wppluginsa2z.com. Next one we have is WordPress plugin developers alerted ahead of Twitter API changes. So this is an important one for developers and for website owners in general who use Twitters. Beginning February 9th, 2023, Twitter will turn off free access to its APIs. The company announced yesterday, or the other day, that it will be offering a paid basic tier, though you won't get to see the details until sometime later this week, or hopefully before the 9th comes around.
Nah, that would be too much like thinking and planning ahead. That doesn't happen in the tech world.
No, it seems like most people in the tech world are pretty ADHD and complete actions before thinking about how to deal with the actions aftermath.
Oh, yeah. That's tech world. Yeah, this is going to be a bit of a bummer for people. I've got several sites that are going to break.
Yeah.
And
well, when asked about why Twitter will be removing the API and if it had anything to do with bots, Elon responded with the following. Yeah, free API is being abused badly right now by bot scammers and opinion manipulators. There's no verification process or cost, so easy to spin up 100K bots to do bad things. Mm-hmm. Just $100 a month for API access with ID verification will clean things up greatly. So one of the things I take away from that is that he's looking to charge people about $100 a month.
Yep.
Which is going to remove a lot of the base of customers for this.
Well, it'll remove the vast majority of people that just use it as a convenience.
Mm-hmm.
You know, such as me. I'm not going to pay for it because I didn't use it. But the marketers that use it, they'll pay the fee. But
that is true.
But the biggest point he has is that it is going to wipe out a shitload of bots on Twitter, which is something he's talked about since he bought it, was wiping out the bots. And
which will be good in the long run.
It'll be good in the long run. It'll mean, you know, less entertainment on Twitter because the bots provide an awful lot of entertainment.
Well, another thing that I read in this article is NetNewsWire has announced they will be removing Twitter API, citing, you may think we rely on RSS feeds from Twitter, but Twitter removed RSS feeds from the service something like 10 years ago. We rely completely on Twitter API.
Yep.
I thought that was kind of an interesting thing. I hadn't even thought about that. I figured the RSS feeds.
Oh no, Twitter yanked the RSS feeds ages ago. I knew that. That's when they forced everyone over to the API. Because I used to use their RSS feeds, and then they forced everyone into their API.
So what's the difference between API and RSS? Don't they kind of move along the same?
They're similar ideas, but the RSS, like every WordPress website you build, has an RSS feed right into it. And the RSS feed is free information. Anyone can tap into your RSS feed and strip out all of your content in no time flat.
Okay.
And Twitter decided they wanted to control what content was pulled out by forcing people through an API key.
Ah, I see.
So yeah, it's making it difficult for many people who aren't going to bother to update. They'll just remove. I'll go through, and as I discover the sites that break because they're using Twitter plugins, I'll just yank the plugins, and the content will vanish. You know.
Yeah.
And then the sites that do auto posting, I have a couple of sites that do auto posting on Twitter. that's going to stop because you need the API key to do the auto posting. That means there won't be any auto postings of WP plugins A to Z to Twitter anymore.
I wonder if you have a plugin that does multiple social media, can you just uncheck Twitter and
Yes, you can.
it'll be fine?
Yes, you can. Yeah,
So
you just turn off the Twitter component of it.
So keep in mind that things are going to break on or around the 9th.
Yep, probably starting late on the 9th and moving into the 10th.
Mm-hmm.
By the 10th, everything will be breaking really quite nicely.
Yeah, so if you're a developer, you might want to get yourself settled in and get ready for a bit of a hurricane regarding this.
Yeah, well, if you develop these plugins, you're going to get a slew of complaints about your plugin, and you're going to have to decide whether it's worthwhile for you to figure out or pay for this thing. In other words, you might have a client base ready handy that'll pay you fees for this new key.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see what happens. It'll be interesting.
Next thing we have is new proposal calls for automated performance monitoring for WordPress core. So WordPress core committer Adam Silverstein has put forth a proposal for continuous monitoring for performance issues so they can be resolved before major regressions are committed to core. The idea comes from the Gutenberg uploads, where site health is now showing time to first byte for classic versus block themes. Also displayed are metrics for changes in loading time, typing time, and block selection time. These are all in your health dashboard for Gutenberg, and it seems the idea is to present this kind of information for the WordPress core, allowing any issues to present before or to be presented before it is concluded in the next or included in the next upgrade. So I'm not sure what I think about this. I don't think it's going to be monitoring your site itself, just the core and how it's doing, keeping an eye on its health, and being able to remove issues before the next update could be a great idea.
Could be useful. Depends on how much monitoring and digging and pulling from your website you're doing.
Yeah. So, there's actually a list of plugins and what they do for the Twitter thing. If I go back for a second, there's auto posting, login with Twitter, analytics, management tools, and scripted interactions, auto blocking, etc. So if your plugins do any of that for Twitter, Hendian, that's what you need to look for.
Yeah, it's anything that actually interacts with Twitter. The question you had there, does Yoast or other SEO plugins use the Twitter API? No, not that I'm aware of. They could, but I've never used the Twitter API in those. What they do is they allow you to set up your Twitter card and snippet, and that's not using the API. That means if someone hits the Twitter button on your website and they want to tweet out that content, it just automatically grabs a certain image and grabs a certain set of content, So that's all they really do. They don't do anything else that I'm aware of. All right, next one, the open source initiative.
Yeah, next we have Open Source Initiative and OpenLogic Release 2023 State of Open Source Report. Such a long headline. OpenLogic is a technical support company. OpenLogic, a technical support company, open source initiative. Wow, I'm having a hard time talking today. OSI, also nonprofit stewards of open source definition, OSD. These guys have all together, they've published a 2023 State of Open Source Report. The Open Source Report seems to be a large survey comprising of 872 qualified responses from more than 20 major industries, showing that 80% of organizations report an increase of open source software. There are more percentiles throughout the article. You can check it out in our show notes.
Okay.
This could either be a good or a bad thing. I'm not really sure. I like open source software, but open source software has also been one of those things that's been targeted by nefarious entities, so to speak.
Yep.
Next, we have WordPress launches old tickets track triage sessions. Okay, that one is a tongue twister. You say that 3 times fast.
WordPress launches old tickets track triage sessions. I'm not
Yeah,
going to do it.
the last bit of that is hard.
Let's just read it slow.
So, as part of the big picture goals for WordPress 2023, the project is making serious effort to work through old tickets that have been stuck in limbo due to no consensus, missing decisions, or multiple possible solutions. JB Audras, a WordPress core committer, seems to be especially dedicated in moving these tickets forward or closing the ones that are no longer relevant. At least 19 tickets are 15 years old. 688 are 10 years old, and the vast majority of these tickets fall into the 5 to 10 year range of age. The first triage session was on January 26th in the hashtag core Slack channel, and there was a 13-year-old ticket that became part of the 6.2 agenda. If you want to join in and see if you can take up some of these older tickets yourself, the next triage session will be on February 9th at the hashtag core Slack channel, so you can get involved.
Have fun.
Next up, we have WordPress contributors work towards removing site editor beta label for its 6.2 release. So apparently this has been discussion for a while. Contributors have been aiming to remove this label since the 6.1 release. Currently, we are being told, fingers crossed, that we get to remove the label this time around. There is an acceptance criteria keeping them from being able to remove the label this far. Everything must be loaded before users start interacting, removing jumpiness of half-rendered states. For those who are worried, Phase 2 does not mean that feedback or bug reports will stop being accepted. You can read more on this in our show notes. You just go to our show notes, follow the link. Next, we have WordPress.com introduces Browse Mode, Style Book, and Push to Global Styles features. WordPress.com is actually getting early access to features from WordPress 6.2. So I think they're kind of using it as a testing ground. One of the most impactful features coming down the line for WordPress 6.2 is Browse Mode. This is supposed to unify design and make it easier and less confusing to navigate the site editor. I think it's referring to Gutenberg specifically. And last on here is one I mentioned before, is generative AI and the ensuing computer human whisperers. I thought this was a really cool article, and I started thinking about this when Hendian mentioned the counselors for AI. Generally, when we talk about whisperers, we're referring to someone who has this innate ability to create a bond with an animal. And it just kind of, the ability comes to them naturally. And when we're referring to the computer human whisperers, it will likely be those who come by the gift naturally, who are able to understand what the AI needs to hear in order to understand and properly answer things. And the AI to human whisperer will be the AIs that have grasped the ability to translate the information the AI has into human understanding most easily. So maybe that's what will happen with the AIs when they reach sentience. We'll have the human whisperers, the human AI whisperers helping them out.
Yes, ones that can manipulate humans the best.
No, it would be the humans who can actually properly interact with the AIs. Human whisperers.
Yes, okay. All right. Well.
We do have something new for our ClassicPress. At the beginning of January, I think we missed this at the beginning of January. ClassicPress asked, why do you use ClassicPress instead of WordPress? They want to hear your story, so follow the link and read why they want to hear from you and how they may use your story. This is actually kind of cool. I think it might have been in preparation to the vote that they already had, but it would still be cool to be able to read the different stories if you get to.
Okay. Be interesting.
And then we have the extras. The extras are really interesting this week. We have stuff on AI, stuff on hacking, and we have some. One of them that I found kind of cool was shortage of interaction design in a world obsessed with design systems. That one was kind of cool. On to the contest.
Alrighty then.
It's a WordPress plugins from A to Z.
So, firstly, we want to thank Simple Giveaways for being totally awesome and providing us with their premium version for our contest. Secondly, we want to thank Steve Goodtime and Brant Matthews for creating our amazing jingle that we still use. And we want to thank Charlie for coming to our aid and rescue yet again with another fantastic contest. The winner of the Sweet Press Unlimited Lifetime Agency License giveaway, valued at $459, is Jason Lee. Congratulations, Jason. Now, I've already been in contact with Jason. He responded to me right away. So we'll just continue on from there. We don't have a contest starting this week. It will be starting up next week. Remember, this is your show. Got to keep repeating that because we don't have enough feedback to make it all of our listeners' show. You guys just keep leaving it up to us. We don't know what we're doing, really. Come on. We need some guidance here. Time to dive into the meat and potatoes of plugin to prep.
Alrighty, off we go. First plugin I've got for you this week here is Advanced Wishlist for WooCommerce. So if you're running a WooCommerce site and you want to add yourself a nice little wish list to it, and of course, wish lists are a great thing. I know I use them all the time on places I buy stuff regularly, such as Amazon and others. I just like, I kind of think I might want to get this. I'll add it in the wish list and check back later. Very useful item to help encourage your clients or your people who come and use your site to build a wish list of things they want to buy. Nice thing about it is you get to see with this plugin, you can also see what's been added to wish lists. So you get an idea on what customers are wishing they had. It might be useful if you have items that regularly go out of stock and you leave them visible. People can go, well, I can't buy it now, but let's put it in my wish list. So you know what kind of stock you need to stock up on. Lots of good ways to use the wish list to help improve and increase your sales on your website. And this one here is a nice little freebie for you to add in there. Builds a nice little simple wish list for people to check out. Wish list buttons added in the content window for the product area, so they can add it, build themselves a wish list, and then you can just see what's in the wish lists and what they want and where it's located. So go check it out. Advanced wish list for WooCommerce, and I give it a 4 dragon rating.
Very nice. I said hi to Scuba Jess, who said, way to go, Jason. And also, hello to Jess Saliba.
Oh, well, hi. Welcome back, guys.
So the first one I have today is called Inline Related Posts. I was looking for a plugin to help bring forth related posts, and I tripped across this one. Kind of makes me think of one of my favorite sites I go, where they always have these yellow lines of related posts in the center. As you can see there, it's kind of what they do. And I thought it would be a great one to try out, so I decided to test it out.
Cool.
When you have uploaded and activated, you'll find the settings dashboard under settings, then inline related posts. And honestly, the settings are a lot of fun to play with. And it has been set up really well. You actually get to see how the line that you're creating looks before you ever press apply. It's pretty awesome. First, you need to make the option active though. I didn't do that first and was very confused. So make sure you make it active first, and then you get to play with the colors. They offer quite a selection in the free version, and the colors for the site title, link background, and border color. And then there are other settings, and they include, though are not limited to, there is actually too many options in the free version for me to list here. You get to choose how many boxes of related posts are going to show up on each post, the interval between boxes counted in words, posts from the last how many days. If you just put 0, that means there's no limit. So you can choose it to choose. You can make it so it only chooses posts from the last couple of weeks, or you can make it so it choose posts right from the very first post you made. It'll just bring in whatever applies.
That could be very useful. Keep going. Don't let my comments stop you in mid sentence. Just keep talking over me.
Yeah, still not very good at that. You can also choose where to pull the posts from. You can choose categories or tags, or you can check them both off and have them pull from each. And you can also choose where to integrate it, whether you integrate into post, into your product. You can choose. It's a really good options all around. There's more options too. The premium version, well, it's even better. More options, more ability to personalize, and just amazing. I really like this plugin. They made the free version, so it's honestly used very awesome. It's a great plugin, well worth checking out if you have a site just chock full of posts, and it looks really good too. I rate this at 4 dragons.
Very cool. That's something that I might have to add to the Oasis, since I've found a way to get more content in there much faster. We'll be discussing that soon. But next up, I have for you a plugin called Profiler. What's slowing down your WordPress? This is a plugin which you can install on your site that will run a test for performance. It looks at the requested time and number of database queries. You can also detect which plugin is causing troubles and help you deal with slowdowns and issues and results. Gives you a printout on what plugins might be creating you grief, how many queries they're making, how much memory it's pulling, all of those little pieces of information you need to help speed up your WordPress and get that extra half a second, which pleases the search engine gods so well. So at any rate, I thought it was a really great one to check out. It's a good freebie, help you on out. It's called Profiler, What's Slowing Down Your WordPress? And I give it a 4 dragon rating.
That sounds endlessly useful.
Yeah, well, I'm going to use it to see if I can speed up the Oasis, which I'm really annoyed with its speed, although it's getting faster every time I tweak it.
Hendian asked, how well does inline related posts handle very niche subjects? Well, I suppose what you would need to do is you need to create a category and or tag that you want those very niche subjects in, and then you tell it to only bring in those posts from there. And you can choose which area to bring in the related posts to. I believe that that would work. I would have to test that theory out to see if it works exactly how you're wanting. You might need to go up to premium to get the extra options in order to make it work exactly how you want, though.
Yeah, but it sounds like it could do very well. Alrighty.
Next up, I have Post Types Order. This plugin makes it possible to change the order of your posts. So once installed, you'll find the option for reordering under Posts and then Reorder. Once this is chosen, you will see every post of yours listed, and you simply drag and drop the post to set the order, and it will stay in that layout. It does not change the categories or anything, just the order it shows up in. So say you have a post that you made a couple years ago and you want to make that one the first one that shows up and everywhere that posts are called forward, it will always be the first one there. You can set it up in any order you want and it'll stay that way no matter how many other posts you add afterwards. They'll just show up below the ones that you've reordered. It's an excellent plugin to make sure that your posts show up the way you want them to. Just a short note to the creators and SP code. I think it's super cool that you guys have a live code feed at the option at the bottom of your page right beside your Twitter button. I clicked it and I got to see your live code feeding. It was so cool. I really liked it. I rate this free plugin at 5 dragons.
All right.
It's time to donate to WP Plugins A to Z.
We interrupt this meat and potatoes of Plugin Depravity edition to bring you your donation segment and to thank our producers. Remember, this is your show. We're just the worker bees here. Don't forget to restock the show's larders with some time, treasure, or talent donations. And if you need more information on how to do that, you can check out our site, wppluginsatoz.com, and right up in the top menu, you will see each one under donations. Special thanks goes to freelance producers popping in and out. Though always showing up at unexpected times, these producers are surely part of the reason our name is getting out there. Backroom producers hanging out in the lounge. Always about the place, consuming all the coffee and donuts. These producers earn it by helping out with our contests, artwork, site organization, notes, questions, suggestions, licenses, and by hiring us. Your time and talent donations are equal to your treasure donations of under $50, and we would not be here without you. We're lucky enough to have a couple of our backroom producers hanging out in our chat room today, too. Always good to see you guys. And War Room producers. With their donations of $50 or more, these producers receive a few extra perks: an official A to Z handle of their choice, a spotlight in that week's show for a short speech, an official executive producership credit, and they get to see a little of the magic as it happens up in the War Room before we send the show out into the netherworld of the internet. Thank you for sticking by us and helping to keep the backroom producers stocked in coffee and donuts. There is more information on these extra perks that you receive as a War Room producer in our show notes, so you can go and check those out. Thank you. Now back to the meat and potatoes of Plugin Depravity Edition.
And we're back. All right. The final plugin I've got for you here is the big one. It's WordMagic AI, ChatGPT, GPT-3, all AI content writer. Now, I finally got myself into ChatGPT last week to experiment with it and play some games and see how much fun and entertainment it can be. It's actually quite entertaining, especially when you throw all kinds of random questions at it. But I also thought, you know what? They got an API key. Let's see what WordPress has to offer up for plugins for it, because you know the plugins exist, and seems to be a few of them, more than I thought there was. When I searched it up, initially only one came up, so some more popped up. And so I threw it up on my on the Oasis website to see what I could find out and do and how it would experiment. And what I found with it, it writes some pretty interesting content. You're going to have to go in and rewrite it for humans because it's not always that great of content. But once you set it in place and you go in and put in your API key into it, what you get to do is you get to choose the writing style and the writing tone it's going to use when it's creating the content. You get to choose from informative, creative, critical, descriptive, persuasive, reflective, and more. But that's just the style. Now you get to choose a tone. What tone is your article going to take? Formal, assertive, humorous, informal, inspirational, professional, sarcastic, which is my favorite, and skeptical. And then all you have to do is you take and once you got all this stuff set, you go create yourself a new post. Now, there is one caveat for those of us that are still using the Classic Editor. You have to switch to the block editor. It does not work in Classic Editor. It only works in block editor. So you load up the block editor for it. Now you can switch back to Classic Editor once it creates the content, which is very useful if you want to continue using your Classic Editor. You just need the block editor to get the content created, because it is only a block plugin. Now, all you have to do is create the headline. And you got to make that headline, I did discover, you got to make that headline fairly precise, because I initially created a headline that said, what was that headline again? The headline said Lost in Peppers. That's what I put. Well, for some reason, the AI decided that was a restaurant. And it wrote me a big, long stuff about Lost in Peppers restaurant, which was very well done. It was entertaining, it was useful, and it was very sarcastic because I chose the sarcastic mode. So cool. I thought, okay, well, let's play with it a little more. So then I wanted to find out a little bit more. Like at the tavern, you can buy, well, I can't buy my fire cider yet, but I make a fire cider. So I just wrote Rogue's Fire Cider and let it choose that. And then it wrote me a very good description of, history of fire cider, how to make fire cider, how to include it in your diet, and on and on. So it does get the gist of what you want to do and pulling that stuff from ChatGPT. So all in all, I found this plugin to be very useful in creating myself some initial content. And with that content, I can then reword it, redo it, use the ideas from it to create my own content versus having to pull it all out of my head. On the whole, I found this to be a fantastic plugin, one that'll be very useful, and you can see quite a ton of AI content being generated in the very near future. Go check it out. It's the WordMagic AI ChatGPT GPT-3 AI content writer, and I give it a 5 dragon rating.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Sounds like it'll be really useful down the road.
It's going to be useful right now because I need to get more articles on my website, and I've been writing them, but I'm very slow to get my articles written. It takes a while to get I get all the notes down, then I have to create the paragraphs around all the notes, and it takes me on average 2-3 hours to write an article, or more sometimes. And with this, it generates it in like under 5 minutes, and then I can take from that and clean it up and rearrange it into stuff that comes from my brain. but it gives me all the initial stuff I need to work with.
That is really useful.
Yeah.
Last one I've got for today is called Simple Local Avatars. What this plugin does is it makes an avatar option for you where you can use any picture you like, uploaded from your own media files or from your computer, cuts it down to proper avatar size, and saves the new version in your media file for you as an avatar. Working on a client site recently, they had a lot of authors they needed to have added who did not have Gravatar accounts, though they had proper headshot JPEGs. With this, I was able to upload their JPEGs into the avatar and make it possible to have a good picture for the author boxes. Once this is installed and activated, you will find the extra option below the usual Gravatar option in the user's dashboard. Here you can add whichever picture you want, and it will be changed to a proper avatar size and saved in your media. In other avatar plugins I have tried, I've noticed that it simply replaces the Gravatar option. This one doesn't. It is an additional option that works alongside Gravatar, making it so that everyone who already has Gravatar options will not lose what they have. It's a great free plugin. I rate this at 5 dragons.
Very cool. Ready.
And we don't have any plugins for ClassicPress. They're doing some interesting things. I'm not sure when they'll be forking the 6.0? 6.1?
They're forking 6.0.
Yeah, so they will be reforking 6.0 to recreate ClassicPress. Until they actually do that, our ClassicPress resource section does still work. So our fruitcake information hasn't gone bad yet, because I've been saying for a while this information is like fruitcake, doesn't wither away, will still be good for years down the road. It's nearing the end of its life, but hopefully if you are into ClassicPress or you want to learn about ClassicPress, you can still do so through our ClassicPress resource section. There's a lot of good stuff there, and hopefully a lot of it will stick around after they've reforked it too. We'll see what happens. We don't have any feedback this week. No meetups to talk about. No other random things. I don't know. Things that
No, we got no other
I
random.
forgot to write down.
There's nothing. There's
Okay.
nothing happening. We have no reminders for folks right now, except to get out there and tell everyone about the show. Tell them how great it is. All that usual stuff.
Oh yeah. So today's plugins we covered were.
All right. Well, I covered up the advanced wish list for WooCommerce, which I rated out of 4. Profiler, what's slowing down your WordPress, which I rated out of 4. And WordMagic AI, ChatGPT, GPT-3 AI content writer, which I rated at 5.
And I covered simple local avatars, which I rated at 5. Oh, apparently I put them all in backwards. Post types order, which I rated at 5. And inline related posts, which I rated at 4.
That's the way it works.
And there's loads of ways you can support us. You can start by pressing the like button on our YouTube here. You can also donate time, talent, or treasure. You can check us out on the various places that our show will show up, like Stitcher Radio, Google Play, or iTunes Store. We even have Facebook you can go and check out. And if you want to get a hold of us, we do actually have a brick and mortar address, and you can even send things to there. You can find that all in the show notes. Time.
What's that?
On to question time.
Oh yeah, you're cutting out occasionally for no apparent reason. All right, let's do it.
It's question and answer time with John and Amber.
Is this any better?
No, turn your mic around. Quit talking into the back of the microphone.
I'm not talking in the back of the microphone. I moved it out of the way so I could actually see my screen fully, but I moved it back so it's blocking my screen.
Well, that's the problem. See, your microphone, I think, is directional.
Meh. So if anybody out there has any questions they'd like to have asked here on the show, you can send them in to me at amber@wppro.ca, and we'll see if we can stump my dad. My first question for you is, how would one recreate a 6-year-old website from a full site backup zip file?
Oh, it's easy. I did that this morning. It was really easy.
Well,
it was mostly easy.
Okay.
If you've got the full site backup, in other words, all the WordPress files, all the WP content files, and the database from the day it was done, you basically go into a hosting provider such as johnoverall.com hosting, really good quality hosting, and create a new account or use an old domain. It's not doing anything, whatever you do. Then you upload all the files to it, go create a new database in there, upload the database to it, wait for it to get in there, go in there and change the WP config file to connect to the new database, go into the database, change the default, the two default URLs in there to your current domain you're using, and then you go to the front page and find out it's broken. Oh, wait a minute, that's not how it's supposed to work. When you find out it's broken and you go, okay, what went wrong? You go check and go, oops, I made a typo in the WP config file. Fix that. Oh, it's a different error, but it's still broken. And you start thinking, okay, well, what was this website doing? And the first place I often go once I've checked the htaccess file, the other one, sometimes if I think there's some fault in the WordPress files, I'll go find out what version WordPress that is. You can find that in the WP extras folder, or I forget the name of the folder, WP something folder. And you can go find the version file to find out what it is. And then I re-upload all the same version files to it to make sure it's got the same version files. I just replace the WordPress file, the WordPress core files. Okay, it's still broken. Well, now you jump into and disable the plugins folder. And if it's not broken after you disable the plugin folder, okay, one of the plugins in there is no longer functioning correctly. So then you re-enable the plugin folder, and then you go through and you pick the most likely plugins that are broken, disable those, and boom, hey, it suddenly works. So you pick the right file once. So basically, it's a little bit of stuff, and then all of a sudden, the site works. If it was built right the first time, you don't really have to do much changing to the URL. You don't have to install the plugin, search and replace to change URLs. If it was built semi-correctly or incorrectly, which a lot of them were 6 or more years ago, with some hard coding of URLs, you'll have to do a database search and replace of URLs to get everything working correctly. But that's pretty much what you do. And it takes I think it took me an hour to accomplish that this morning.
So what's the trickiest part of doing something like this?
Making sure you have good quality backup files to work from.
What would poor quality be?
Poor quality be corrupted files or a corrupted database that no matter how many times you upload the database, it won't take.
All right.
It's a matter of whether your backup is uncorrupted or not. It's like I usually have very little problems doing this. Occasionally, there's been one experience about 3 years ago. For some reason, no matter what I did, I couldn't make it work. I could only make it half work. And I finally surrendered to it. And that happens. And it must have been some corruption or something somewhere in the database I just couldn't sort out. So.
Andian has a question.
Mm-hmm.
If you have all the plugins you use and copies of any modified files, PHP, CSS, etc., can you make an effective backup by just backing up the database from time to time?
Yes, if you've got all the plugins and files, but the problem is how often are you updating them? So it's like you can just take the database, because everything in WordPress is contained in the database except the images, CSS files, and PHP files. That's the only thing not contained in the database. Everything else, all your content, your locations of information, it's all in the database. So yeah, your database is the most important thing you have. I've actually been able to duplicate websites just from the database alone. Takes a very long time because you got to go analyze and find out what plugins are needed. Or basically you get it semi-functioning, hit the plugin page and see what plugins it turns off because it can't find the folders. And before you change screens, you write down all the plugin names, and then you re-download all those plugins and upload them and reactivate them. But yeah, the database alone is the most important thing you can have. Yeah, I will vouch for that. It's one of the reasons why I have backups of the backups of the backups of the backups of the backups. Because I had a computer store that I ran backups on daily backups of all of my POS system, my point of sale system. I had daily backups on it. And when I bought the store, I said, oh, you'll need about 15 days. I said, no, I think I need longer than that. I kept 45 days of backups, and I'm really grateful I did. Because one morning I went in, fired up all my computers, and my system was corrupted and crashed. I'm like, oh, well, that sucks. Well, I'll just use last night's backup. figuring something happened. Well, the last night's backup was corrupted. It's like, okay, let's lose a day's worth of data. I went through that. I had to go back 15 days to find a backup that was uncorrupted. So basically, corruption had creeped in. I had been backing up corrupted data for over 2 weeks, and then it finally crashed, and I lost a little over 2 weeks worth of data, which was better than losing all of the data. But yeah, never trust your backup till you try to restore it. You got to try and restore them from time to time, make sure they work. So,
And I have a couple more after the closing credits.
okay, so I guess I
So for
covered up.
those
I
of
guess I
you
covered
who
up.
are listening on something else, you'll have to come to the YouTube channel to hear the other two questions.
All right. Well, I think we will let our girl take us on out of here, and we will be right back.
Reminders for the show. All show notes can be found at wppluginsa2z.com. And while you're there, subscribe to the newsletter for more useful information delivered directly to your inbox. WP Plugins A to Z is a show that offers honest and unbiased reviews of plugins created by developers because you support the show. Help keep the show honest and unbiased by going to wppluginsa2z.com/donate and set the donation level that fits your budget. Help us make the show better for you by subscribing and reviewing the show at Stitcher Radio, Google Play, and in the iTunes Store. You can also leave us a review on our Facebook page using wppluginsa2z.com/Facebook. You can also watch the show live on YouTube, check out the screencasts and training videos, and remember to subscribe and hit the bell to get notifications of all new videos. Follow the show on Twitter at WPPluginsA2Z. John can also be reached at his website, johnoverall.com, or email him directly, john@wppro.ca. Thanks for joining us and have a great day.
Thanks for listening to the show. This show is copyright by johnoverall.com. So until next time, have yourselves a good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you happen to be out there on the globe today.
Alrighty then.
That little bear sounds so cute there.
Yeah, well, it doesn't sound that cute anymore.
No, he sounds like a little
Little bit?
tiny male.
He's a male, man. He's 16.
He's a short male who's
No, he's not short.
so short anymore, but
He's not short.
he's not so short now, but he's still short.
He's getting close to your height. I'm sorry.
Really already?
Oh yeah, he sprouted.
Jeez.
He sprouted up quite nicely this year.
All right, well, my next question for you is, say you really liked a website you built years ago. Would you be allowed to take that website, upload it, and then change the information to your own? The setup would be the same, though the information would be different. Is something like that allowed?
Depends on who owns the copyright. If you built
Right.
if you built it, technically you own the copyright unless you assign the copyright to the client.
That actually is my next question. Does the copyright cover the layout of the site for the owner of the domain, for the creator of the website, or both? Or does copyright only cover the information inside the layout of the site?
Copyright covers everything, and copyright is varied across the board. The creator of a unique content gets the copyright, unless they assign that content to the client. And that's usually done through contracts. If there's no contract signed, the copyright stays with the creator. And the creator can then use all those design elements elsewhere that they want. And that's usually the way I did it when I did sign contracts. I don't do contracts anymore. Is that I could take those elements and reuse them at a later date and time. Because recreating content is hard. It's quite the chore to recreate content. And if you've got design elements that you created somewhere or design layout you created somewhere, you want to be able to reuse it. How a lot of content is now is with these design elements. But yeah, copyright is such a mess right now. Most people worry about content more than anything else.
Okay.
Content and unique images and pictures is what more people worry about. So it's really hard to copyright the design elements, especially since so much of it is in commonplace right now. I mean, a lot of it's
All right.
common right now.
So, like, if you had built a site for a client and you really loved that layout that you created for them,
Mhm.
if you were to take that layout and simply replace it all with your personal information for your own site,
Mhm.
how would that go?
Well, you would just take the theme because the layout is a theme.
Okay.
The layout is the theme. Everything in the layout is in the theme.
Oh, Hendian said the design of a site and/or its look and feel can be copyrighted.
Yes, that's what I
Can
just
the
said.
graphic elements? Yeah. Okay.
That's what I just said. He put it
Yeah.
he's put it in simpler language than I just did. But yeah, that's exactly what I just said. Is it is copyright. It's copyrighted to the original creator. It's like they changed copyright law many, many years ago so that the moment you created something, it was copyrighted to you.
Okay.
And if someone hires you to build a website, unless it's specifically stated in the contract, they do not get the copyright of the design elements. It's yours. Unless it's specifically stated in the contract. And when I did do the contracts, I'd specifically state that I licensed that content for them to use in perpetuity with no fee. Meaning I
Okay.
still own the copyright and I could continue to use it. And that's the big thing is you need to keep owning the copyright as much as you can. And the best way to do it is just, if they want it, say, okay, well, this content is now licensed to you to use for however long you want to use it. It's the best way to deal with it. Because then they know they won't be slapped with a copyright charge of any sort.
Mm-hmm.
And you get to continue using the content.
Hendian said, unless you can claim satire or one of the other limited copyright exemptions.
Yeah, well, even satire is easy to use, but there's lots of ways. There's lots of ways around copyright to an extent. The problem is you still like if you went out there and you satirized Walt Disney products, they'll still attempt to sue you. Even though they know it's in a valueless suit, they know that just the fact of dragging you into court will cost you money.
Yeah.
They do it to cost you money and to be an annoyance more than anything else. Even though it's perfectly legitimate to go out there and make a satire of Mickey Mouse or whatever. Even though all those things are supposed to be public domain right now. I'm not even going to go down the copyright public domain road because I was so pissed when they changed copyright law in 2000.
Yeah, no, it's not a road to go down today.
No.
I was just wondering about the layout of the site.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, you get to use it. As long as you haven't assigned the copyright to somebody else.
That's awesome.
No.
Okay, well, hang on. One more quick question. If you design it with somebody else, does that mean you both have the copyright?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, pretty much. Now, there is a couple of caveats here, just so you know. If you are working for a design company and you design something, you don't own the copyright. As an employee, your employer owns that copyright.
That's interesting.
Just so you know.
That kind of makes sense.
Yeah, because you're being paid to do work, and in the employer-employee laws and regulations, if you create something on company time, it belongs to the company.
Indian said, win or lose, the side with the deeper pockets can bankrupt the other.
And that's exactly what they do. And actually, they're the only winners in it's the lawyers. The lawyers are the only ones that ever win because they get paid no matter what. And their job is to drag it out as long as they can to increase their pay. So, why I hate lawyers. All right, I guess that's it. We got nothing else. Thanks everyone for showing up, and we had some cool visitors today. It was nice to see some people show up, like Jess Saliba. Nice to see him show up here.
Absolutely.
And I'd forgotten he was the one that helped with our gallery, creating the new gallery and getting it all set up and importing out all this old artwork. So it's kind of cool that we pulled up one of his pieces of art today for him.
Yeah, he's one of our backroom producers.
Yeah. So it's kind of cool. Yeah, he helped us out way back when, a few years ago. So, and Scuba Jess, thank you for showing up. And the other 3 people that showed up in the last 15 minutes of the show, thanks for being here. All right.
Hopefully you enjoyed the show. Have a wonderful week.
And that's all we got for you. Let's have a little music to carry us on out to the end.
These are the days of thunder. We're gonna make time stand still. A quarter after midnight, and I'm watching the wall. Sometimes I feel so uptight, I just can't sleep at all. Every day doing the same old thing, we're losing time. The weekend comes, we gotta have some fun and rewind. These are the days of thunder. We're gonna make time stand still. We gotta feel the hunger, hanging over the edge just to taste the thrill. I feel the rope tightening, choking off our air. We need to grab some lightning. Friday's almost here. Caught in a web, we need to cut this thread we're hanging by. Where is it said you have to be half dead to survive? These are the days of thunder. We're gonna make time stand still. We gotta feel the hunger, hanging over the edge just to taste the thrill. These are the days of thunder. We're gonna make time stand still. We gotta feel the hunger, hanging over the edge just to taste the thrill. These are the days of thunder. We're gonna make time stand still. We gotta feel the hunger, hanging over the edge just to taste the thrill. These are the days of thunder.
Alrighty, folks. That's all we got now. Take care. Bye-bye.
Take care.
Oh no. Obviously we just lost